All right, welcome to the Provo Municipal Council. This is our meeting agenda. It is 5:35, Tuesday, February 20th, 2024. Our elected officials today are Councilor Becky Bogdan, Councilor Rachel Whipple, Councilor Catrice McKay, Councilor Craig Christensen, and Councilor George Handley. And we also have the Mayor, Michelle Kafusi, with us. Do we have anyone online? Oh, I can see Councilor Gary Garrett and Councilor Travis Hoban. We will have the opening prayer by Councilor Craig Christensen, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilor George Handley.
Allegiance. Our Father in heaven, we're very grateful to be gathered together here as a municipal council. We're grateful for the city, grateful for this wonderful state that we live in, this wonderful country that where we enjoy so many freedoms. We're grateful for the wonderful citizens here in Provo and for their contribution to making this such a wonderful place to live. We're grateful for the blessings that we enjoy. And we pray that we would express the gratitude for the wonderful things we have, and that this evening we would make good decisions in moving the city forward in exceptional ways. And we say so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Craig and George. First of all, we are going to have the Provo City Employee of the Month. I'm just guessing it is from 311. This will be presented by the Mayor, Michelle Kafusi.
It's our favorite thing every month. Chair McKay and Vice Chair Whipple and members of the Municipal Council. Today, we have another exciting opportunity to recognize an employee who has demonstrated exceptional care for our exceptional community. I'm happy to introduce our Customer Service Director, Amanda Erkenbrack, who will be presenting February's Employee of the Month Award to an outstanding individual in our customer service department. So on that note, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. I'm really appreciative of this. It was a daunting task. There are so many amazing people in my department, but there was one person who really stands out, and so I'd like to invite Anthony Palmer to come up here with me. So Anthony has worked in customer service for almost 2 years as a customer service representative. If you've ever dialed 311, there's a good chance you've been greeted by Anthony. His friendly, genuine greeting is embedded in my memory. Thank you for calling Provo City. This is Anthony. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking of? Did I nail it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. In the last 12 months, Anthony has answered 13,545 phone calls. He averages well over 10 calls per hour, even while processing airport badges and passport applications and doing fingerprints. But Anthony is not receiving this award just for his impressive stats. His manager, Brittany Densley, could not be here tonight, but she said the following. Anthony is an exceptional team player and employee. Anthony has a positive attitude and is always one of the first people to volunteer, whether it's work-related or a volunteer opportunity outside of the workplace. Anthony is consistently positive and upbeat. When given a project, he's happy to help and gets the job done. Anthony goes the extra mile in assisting with our greeter program, suggesting innovative ways to improve the customer experience. He excels at processing passport applications, which can be a tedious process. He's respectful, a great friend to his coworkers, and a go-to resource for his peers. For me, what has stood out about Anthony, besides being a team player, is just his willingness to get the job done. He's not afraid of extra work and often takes it on without being asked. Shortly after moving here, the U.S. Department of State required that all passport applications be dropped off in person. While we were busy moaning about the change, Anthony agreed to take on this task himself, and he's now probably the only Provo City employee who clocks out at the post office every night. I asked some of Anthony's peers to describe him, and these are the words they used. Knowledgeable, patient, kind, thorough, encouraging, giving, reliable, friendly, loyal, happy, eager, and full of life. We're happy to have Anthony as part of our team.
Oh, no.
Do you want to say a few words?
Oh.
You don't have to.
And then we'll have the council come down. We'll get a fun photo.
Oh. Don't know how this goes, but okay. Thank you. Those are very kind words. I will try to live up to that as best as I can. I would say my appreciation is to everybody that has supported me with this job. And the support that we receive from the council, from the mayor's office. It has been a great experience, and I'm glad to be able to help the Provo City community with 311 and for the opportunities I've been given at this job. So thank you.
You're going to come right in the middle because you're the star. That's one. Of course. I'm gonna be tortured. You have to. We're so girl boy. Look at us. Okay.
Thanks, 311. Okay, as indicated on the screen, a required public hearing will be held for certain agenda items prior to council action. After each such item has been presented, time to comment will be provided for all those who wish to speak. For items that do not require a public hearing, public comment will still be taken following presentation of the item, but will be limited to 10 minutes. At this time, up to 15 minutes have been set aside for an open public comment period, which is intended to allow comment on matters that do not appear on the agenda. Persons who speak during this time to an item that is on the agenda will not normally be afforded a second opportunity to speak during the comment period specific to that item. During any public comment period, each speaker will generally be limited to 2 minutes. Due to noticing requirements, no formal action will be taken in this meeting on matters that do not appear on the agenda. Those with comments are invited to approach the podium. Those participating on Zoom will need to use the raise hand feature to indicate they wish to comment. The chair may choose to alternate between in-person and online commenters. Please begin your comments by stating your name and the city of residence. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Is there anyone that's in? Hello, come on up. Give your name and your city of residence, please.
Okay, thanks. My name is Adam Shin. My wife and I live in Provo. We live near the Riverwoods area. And I just wanted to come up and share a couple of thoughts I had listening to the city council work session, the work meeting last week. I tuned in because I was interested in the topic of housing policy, especially to hear what the city had to say about missing middle housing. And I was surprised a little bit that the discussion was mainly centered on the topic of owner occupancy. And the main takeaway goal was focused entirely on goals around owner occupancy and timeframes to see that. I understand that that's, I'm sure that's a large priority for a lot of established residents. And I hope the city council is also open to hearing the perspective of people who are also currently renters. Home ownership is a great thing to encourage. There's a lot of great reasons, stable communities and having people being able to build equity in something they own. There's many great reasons for the city to encourage home ownership. But I think a lot of renters also understand that. And so why don't, but the main reason that they don't buy housing for a lot of people is simply because the cost of housing has risen and the bottom rung of housing availability is just rising out of reach for a lot of people in the city. I've had conversations with friends and family members of my own who are people who are experiencing the same thing and who wish they could live here but are simply priced out. I think it's worth considering that the price of housing is affected by market effects. And you know, when demand for housing outstrips supply, prices will rise, and it becomes difficult for regular people starting families, college graduates to be able to afford homes when they're competing with institutional investors and other kinds of established wealth. So I hope that the city would consider talking more and having conversations about, you know, different kinds of ways we can make housing more affordable, missing middle housing, things like duplexes and row houses. And
Thank you. You're welcome to come on up. Yeah, just give us your name, please, and your city of residence.
I need you more. Well, first, I really want to say I do apologize appearing this way.
Oh, nothing to apologize for.
I don't want any of you to, feel disrespected.
What is your name?
I need you more. Sorry.
Okay.
My goal is just to be proactive in the city. I'm not here to try to help homeless people, although I'm homeless. I think that's a personal matter. But I'm just here to be very, very proactive in understanding the city, because I think that as a person that lives in the city, I have, just like anybody else, I can get to know you guys and get to understand how the city works. And so I want to take advantage of that. But I also want to be clear, because sometimes, people tell me I'm kind of strong-minded, and so I don't want to offend the city official. I just want to say
you're
that.
good.
And so going forward, there's not going to be any emails sending to you guys, and so you guys don't have to worry about that. But I do want to be proactive in understanding the city, though, and so, which I'm gonna do everything that I can to make that possible. But anyway, thank you so very much, and I just wanted to, introduce myself.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other public comment? Just one little comment in regards to the housing that you were speaking of. I think, and I'm going to speak for the council as a whole, because I've talked to them enough, I do believe that we all understand that the pricing is an issue, right? And so we do have goals that we want to do smaller square footage that people can buy, condos, townhomes. We know that homeownership needs to start smaller square footage, smaller than, it's not at all talking single family homes with yards. So I just want you to know that that is a goal of ours. And one in particular that we've talked about is getting more condos built. No one builds condos. They're all apartments, right? That you can't buy. But we need those condos with that smaller price point. All right. Next is an implied motion on a resolution approving the appropriation of $59,113 in the general fund for a sales tax increment payment to East Bay Shopping Center. And this will be presented by Keith Morey.
It's a pleasure to be with you tonight. For the public's benefit, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago in a work session. And these are agreements that we entered into several years ago with some of the retail shopping areas that we have. And basically, those agreements were made under the assumption or kind of the agreement with those owners that if they reinvested in those areas and made improvements and agreed to a certain amount that they would spend to kind of upgrade the facade, the environment there in those shopping areas, hopefully that would spur new economic development, new shopping opportunities. People would be attracted to those areas that maybe hadn't been before. And so we would see an increase in the sales tax that the city receives in each one of those. And the agreement basically said that if they would do that, that we would agree for a period of time to share back a portion of the increase so that we could help reimburse them for their willingness to reinvest in our community. It's probably one of the better economic development tools I've seen in my 30 years of doing this, because it's post-performance. It's no out-of-pocket cost to us. but it's a pledge that if they will build it and if it's successful, we will contribute back to them to that success. So this is one of those areas we have. Go ahead. Sorry.
Keith, this is a tool that we still have that we can use, right? This is the one that the legislation took away from us.
It is one that is more difficult to use because most of these centers are anchored by big box retail.
Okay.
And if there is a big box retail
Then we
tenant in
can't
those,
do
we
it.
cannot.
Okay.
So to me, there's a strong argument for why we should be lobbying our legislators to rethink that policy, because to me, this is one of the very productive tools that we can and should be continuing to use so that these areas stay vibrant and don't become a blighted part of our community.
Okay. Thanks for
Every single one that we've done has been wildly successful, and I'll tell you how you can see that. This first one that we're talking about is this one is the East Bay. So the East Bay Shopping Center agreed that they would, in 2016, they would do about $2,300,000, almost $400,000 worth of improvements. And since then, their sales tax has increased substantially. And so we would owe them, I think the base year was $90,000 that we received in sales tax. And this year, the amount is $149,000. So we owe them $59,113. And this is the fourth payment. So every year they've been successful and seen a continued increase in their sales tax to us. So I would ask for your indulgence in approving this evening.
All right. Any questions for Keith? Thanks, Keith.
You bet.
We will open this item up for a public hearing. Anyone want to comment on this? All right. Seeing no public comment, council discussion. Any discussion? All right. Let's take a vote on the motion, on the implied motion. Councilor Bogdan. Yes. Councilor Christensen.
Yes.
Councilor Garrett.
Yes.
Councilor Handley.
Yes.
Councilor Hoban.
Yes.
Councilor McKay, yes. Councilor Whipple.
Yes.
And that is unanimous, 7-0. All right, now you have another one for us, Keith. This is a resolution approving the appropriation of $84,794 in the general fund for a sales tax increment payment to Parkway Village.
That's correct. So with all of that kind of as background, I won't restate that. In Parkway Village, the owners agreed that they would spend almost $2.2 million to make improvements to that shopping area. The base year in that example was $136,000, almost $137,000 annually that the city received in sales tax. And this last year, that amount was $221,270. So a substantial increase because of that investment. And as you've already stated, the amount that we would owe them this year is that $84,794. So
Great, thanks, Keith.
you bet.
Any questions for Keith? All right, we'll open this item up for public hearing. Seeing no public comment, we'll open this up for council discussion. Oh, we have a raised hand. Gary Garrett, go ahead.
Yes, Keith, I thought it was useful that when you presented this to us a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned that these contracts are based on a 10-year term. I think that's
correct.
Useful to know as well. I just wondered
they
in the
all
case.
they all have an annual, a term and an amount that we can't exceed. So it was, and frankly, it was understood and agreed with the owner of these facilities that they would probably never reach the cap. I mean, they would have to be wildly successful, which we would love to see happen, but it was not anticipated that they could actually perform well enough to ever be able to receive the full amount back.
Right. Okay. So I was just wondering, in the case of the Parkway Village, if Walmart Fresh, Neighborhood Fresh, is considered an anchor tenant.
Well, it was, but because this agreement was entered into in 2016, it preceded the state law that said we can't do that. So it's grandfathered in.
Okay. Even if they want to renew?
Well, I mean, as of right now, we could not renew it. And I think if we ever reached a point where that was a topic of conversation, I think we would let this agreement expire, and then we would evaluate whether or not new improvements were going to be made or what the justification would be for us to continue to be involved. I mean, I would just like we did when we entered into this agreement, I would want to know why. What's the reason that they want us to continue to support this? There was a purpose at the time that we did this, and the purpose was that we were incentivizing them to upgrade the environment. And once this is expired, I would want to know from them, are you going to do more upgrades? Is there something else that our contribution would encourage that you don't think you could do without our partnership?
Thank you, Keith.
You bet.
All right, any more council discussion? Okay, we'll vote on the implied motion. Counselor Christensen,
Yes.
Counselor Garrett,
Yes.
Counselor Handley,
Yes.
Counselor Hoban,
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes. Counselor Whipple,
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan.
Yes.
All right, one more, Keith. A resolution approving the appropriation of 41,979 in the general fund for a sales tax increment payment to the shops at Riverwoods.
Great. So again, with all that as preview, at the Riverwoods, they agreed that they would make $9 million worth of improvements back in 2021. So those improvements occurred up to that point. I think 2021 was when we finally kind of got that whole agreement finalized. So the base year for them, the sales tax generated in that area was 118,000, and this last year it was 159, almost 160. So it's incrementally stepping up, but this is just the first year, and I think you're already beginning to see the Riverwoods make some good positive turnarounds. I think the addition of some of the office space that we've approved out there in that park will contribute to that. Some of the residential that's being talked about in and around that area, I think, will further that. So they're headed in the right direction. That's exactly what we wanted to accomplish.
Thanks, Keith. Any questions for Keith? All right, we'll open this item up for public hearing. Seeing no public comment, council discussion. Gary, is your hand still up for this one?
No, sorry.
Okay. We will vote on the implied motion. Counselor Garrett,
Yes.
Counselor Handley,
Yes.
Counselor Hoban,
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes. Counselor Whipple,
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan,
Yes.
Counselor Christensen.
Yes.
And that is unanimous, 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Keith. All right, next, a resolution approving an interlocal agreement regarding funding for trail and bridge improvements along the Provo River Trail from Columbia Lane to University Parkway. And this will be presented by Gordon Haight.
Thank you. Several years ago, our Parks Department put in an application to MAG to get funding to replace the tunnels underneath Columbia Road and State Street. They received the funding. However, the funding does not become available until 2025, January. The Parks Department has their plans about 99% complete, ready to go on the project. So we're entering into an agreement with Utah County that if we go ahead and spend the money now, they'll reimburse us the funds after January 1st. And so this helps us get a jump on the trails before be able to manage it with the runoff and so forth. And so this is an opportunity to kind of get this done a little bit early. And the county has already agreed to this interlocal agreement, so we just need to agree to it and then we can get the money. Or start spending the money and then we'll get the money in January.
Thanks, Gordon.
Any questions?
Any questions for Gordon? Counselor Whipple.
So by going ahead and getting started earlier, will there be cost savings?
Yeah, yes, because there's also a huge sewer line we got to relocate. There's a lot of other utilities, and we can do this all coordinated with projects that are going on right now. So the Parks Department has worked with UDOT, and it'd be a benefit to try to do this than to wait a year when prices get higher. Just get it done now, and we'll be reimbursed.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Gordon. Do you have a question? No. We'll open this item up for public comment. Any public comment on this item? All right, we'll open it up for council discussion. All right, let's take a vote on the implied motion. Counselor Handley,
Yes.
Counselor Hoban,
Yes.
Counselor McKay, yes. Counselor Whipple,
Yes.
Counselor Bogdan,
Yes.
Counselor Christensen,
Love getting this done early. Yes.
and Counselor Garrett.
Yes.
Thank you. That's 7-0. These tunnel improvements have been huge. Much needed. All right, next, a resolution approving the transfer of $665,325 from the general fund to the airport fund. And this will be presented by John Borget.
Thank you, Chair McKay and council. Come to you to, this will actually be the fourth year of this interfund loan that was done between the airport and the energy fund. It was to purchase some property adjacent to the airport to assist with future needs at the airport. I would just mention that that as part of when the loan was originally made, the intent was to eventually have the airport make this payment. But as we've been building and growing the business at the airport, that for the prior payments, we made that loan payment we did an interfund loan from the general fund to make the payment. We've looked at and examined the airport. We also have Brian Torgerson here, who's our airport manager, that is welcome to come and share with you some insights if you have questions for him. But I would just mention that one of the things that happened in this year's budget, as we were preparing for it, the 2024 budget, we actually had a balanced budget, which we were excited about. But as we've been growing and building the airport, one of the things that we included as part of the airport this year was having the costs for public safety, both police and fire, shared with the airport, so they're covering those costs. But in the initial budget, they did not budget enough for overtime and costs related to police and fire, and so we've had some additional expenses that we're incurring as a result of that. I would also say that there are some other important needs, and if you'd like, I know Brian talked about them in the work session, but he could come expand on them further. But my opinion right now, as someone that oversees the finances for the city, that the airport's being very successful, but still in a mode where it's growing and has a lot of needs. And our goal and desire as an administration and as a city is to try to build the airport in a smart way so that we can provide the essential services there. And so my recommendation is that this year we also go ahead and do a transfer from the general fund for this loan. But I think we're getting closer and closer to where the airport's going to be able to cover this. It's a 10-year loan, and this is year 4. And so that's my assessment. I'm happy to answer any questions the council may have, or Brian can come up.
Thanks so much, John. Anyone have questions for John? Okay, I think you guys are off the hook. We'll open this item up for public comment. All right, seeing no public comment, council discussion. All right, we're going fast, you guys. All right, we're going to vote on the implied motion. Councilor Hoban.
Yes.
Councilor McKay, yes. Councilor Whipple.
Yes.
Councilor Bogdan.
Yes.
Councilor Christensen.
Yes.
Councilor Garrett.
Yes.
And Councilor Handley.
Yes.
And that's 7-0. Thank you. All right, next, a resolution approving the transfer of $90,658 from the Legacy CIP to the general fund and the appropriation of those funds. And this will be presented by Sandy Bushio.
Hi. Okay, so this money is requested for the replacement of one automatic license plate reader that is over 4 years past the extended warranty, and the purchase of an additional license plate reader for the parking program. As everybody's aware, or maybe not, these license plate readers are used to help with residential parking permits, timed parking, vehicle counts, and if the council or in the future we do want to consider paid on street parking, these license plate readers are essential.
Awesome. Thank you, Sandy. Any questions for Sandy? All right, thank you. We'll open this item up for a public hearing. Anyone have comments? Okay, seeing no comments, council discussion. Councillor Christensen.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for the good work that you do. Enforcement and parking enforcement is a huge topic for our citizens. And we appreciate you being able to articulate the very things we need to make sure that you are able to do your job, because that's what the citizens are asking for. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a vote on the implied motion. Councillor McKay, yes. Councillor Whipple?
Yes.
Councillor Bogdan?
Yes.
Councillor Christensen?
Yes.
Councillor Garrett?
Yes.
Councillor Handley?
Yes.
And Councillor Hoban?
Yes.
And that passes 7-0. Next, implied motion on ordinance amending the zone map classification of real property generally located at 301 North Lakeshore Drive from the agricultural zone to open space preservation. And this will be presented by Dustin Wright, our planner.
All right, thank you very much. So this item is a rezone of city-owned property, and it's located next to the Provo River. It's about 5 acres of land currently zoned agricultural that the city's looking to develop into a park. Our Parks Department's been working hard at designing a beautiful park here at this location to help bring a lot of amenity and trails and connections to the city in this location. The Planning Commission has reviewed that project plan and approved that, and also approved the or recommended approval. So here's the design of the park they've approved, and recommended approval to the city council for this rezone. The reason for the rezone is because the property is currently zoned an agricultural zone, which doesn't have a permitted use for parks. And so we do have a zone dedicated specifically for this, which is our open space preservation and recreation zone, the OSPR zone. And so they would like to rezone this agricultural piece to that zone. Staff's reviewed this and finds that it meets our general plan. It helps kind of advance some of the goals and policies in that as well. So we're excited for this, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
I don't know anyone who isn't excited about this one. You're lucky. I do have a question. Did I see John Butterson?
Yeah.
I have a question for him about the park design. If we can go back to the picture of the park design. I just noticed, John, that there's an equestrian trail. Now, is the idea that that is purely a horse trail? It's like
there is the opportunity at this facility for horse trailers to come in and offload their horses and to travel over to the Provo River and then follow that west over into the new Delta project.
Okay.
And explore that area on the trails that are available there.
So is it going to be special trails just for horses?
It runs adjacent to the paved surface trail that is the Provo River Trail that heads into the Delta.
So is it a gravel trail?
Yes.
Okay, so there's going to be a gravel trail next to other pedestrian or bike trails.
Correct.
All right, that's interesting. Do we know how many miles of the equestrian? Does it loop? Like, does it connect to itself?
These are great questions, but they all
It's
deal
not
with
all designed yet.
the improvements that are happening to the west of Lakeview Parkway. This section here will add approximately a quarter mile of trail section between the Delta Gateway Park and Lakeview Parkway.
Okay.
But it continues beyond that to the west.
Okay. All right. Thanks, John. Councillor Handley.
I had a trail question also. So the new trail to the Delta area that's there kind of heading off, because that, so, and if you go to the next slide, maybe that helps us see the bigger picture. So is the plan that that trail goes along the south bank of the new Delta all the way out?
Yes. Yes. And it will connect to a second county facility where boats can launch small boat craft. When I say boat craft, I mean like paddle boards and kayaks, much smaller boats. The water won't be deep enough for outboard motor boats.
So this, and the park will be sort of the fork for either going along the Delta or going along the old Provo River Trail.
Or going back upriver.
Or going
along the Provo
upriver.
River Trail
Yeah.
as well. It also connects under Lakeshore Drive to the nature area that Provo City has on the south side of the Provo River going upriver. So there's several areas to explore from this destination.
Great, thank you.
And I'll just add that this park development is being funded from federal funds and not as a cost to Provo City, and the value currently estimated about $3.2 million
Wow.
to Provo City residents that this funding is coming from.
Well, even though we paid in the end, we love free money, technically. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open this item up for public comment. Seeing no public comment, we will do council discussion. All right, we'll take a vote on the implied motion. Councilor Whipple.
Yes.
Councilor Bogdan.
Yes.
Councilor Christensen.
Yes.
Councilor Garrett.
Yes.
Councilor Handley.
Yes.
Councilor Hoban.
Yes.
And Councilor McKay, yes. That's it, folks. If there's no objection, we will now adjourn the Provo Municipal Council meeting by unanimous consent.